Like, it is just a business thing. But Starbucks just changed fired their CEO, changed their CEO. They were in a slump, but no one would really know. Company doing, I don't know, $500 million in a month versus like 700 million or something. It's just relative to what you're doing.
But that's the number one advice for people who don't do well in terms of they have leads and they're not converting them, is usually because of their sales game. So when in doubt, work on your sales and negotiation and making deals happen.
We have people sending 50,000 texts a month, and they are they're killing it. To get out of a slump, like, you gotta maybe just turn up the work a little more.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today's topic, we're talking about how to get out of a slump in your business. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. And this was brought by member Brandon M in our paid Discord community in Land Investing Online. And Brandon said, we asked for podcast suggestion, and this is one that came up. And I love the idea of it because everyone gets in a slump at some point, you know?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about just the idea is like the mindset behind him saying it. Like, it's not like making excuse with external stuff. It's like he's trying to solve this. Like, how does he get out of this? Like, he is looking for solutions. So a lot of people, I think you're gonna at some point be in this situation where you're trying to get out of a slump. It's a lot of it starts with that mindset about it. But I like the topic.
Yeah, you definitely can't avoid it in business in general, and that's why we had a podcast a few weeks ago talking about the traits to being successful in this business. And I think that's what a lot of this comes at, or that's why a lot of people are successful in business. That's why they are successful, is because they're traits. And that's why unsuccessful people are not successful, is because of the lack of those traits, et cetera. And that's why we talk so much about grit, because like you said, finding a solution to get it done and get yourself out and get yourself on top again is going to be needed at some point in everyone's business. And I think it's big to talk about.
And it happens, like you said, like, it is just a business thing. Like, a slump can be a company doing, I don't know, $500 million in a month versus like 700 million or something like that. Like, it's just relative to what you're doing. And I don't know exactly what Brandon's situation is. Is it he hasn't had a deal in 3 months? Is it he's only getting 2 deals a month and he usually gets 4 or 5 deals a month? But it doesn't really matter. The getting out of this is I don't think it's just mindset. Like, there needs to be some different action, like problem solving, all that stuff. But it can be any size. Like, Starbucks just fired their CEO, changed their CEO. They were in a slump, but no one would really know unless you're owning Starbucks stock or something like that. It's all relative.
That's an interesting point.
You see what he's the new CEO's, I think he had $113 million sign on business.
Where'd he come from?
Chipotle.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
Yeah, I thought Chipotle was struggling because it's just a horrible service that I've
Obviously not.
had there.
Line.
But yeah, they're clearly doing well.
Jeez. And I didn't know Starbucks was in a slump.
I didn't either, but they knew that clearly because they fired their CEO and hired a new one.
Yeah.
Bought someone for a ton of money.
Yeah. Not a lot of money compared to their top revenue, though. That's a massive company. All right, so let's get into it then. So what do you think, like, what do you think drives these slumps in terms of why would someone consider, like, what does someone consider a slump? Because someone like a veteran considers their slumps differently than someone just starting out, I think.
I think it can be your numbers down, like, relative to previous months, or it could be, I think there's 2 types when I'm just thinking about this. Your numbers can be down, like, I've been doing 5 deals a month, now I'm doing 2 deals a month, or like your numbers down relative to expectations. Like, if you're scaling up from 10,000 mailers a month to 20,000, like, you're going to expect a lot more. And a slump could be like, okay, I only grew from 5 to 7 deals a month when I doubled my marketing efforts. I think the more normal one is your numbers just being down. I'm doing 2 deals a month. Now I'm struggling to get a deal. I don't remember your base question though, Dan.
It was like a veteran is going to have different expectations than
for sure.
Starter.
Yeah. A veteran might be like, I'm trying to do, it might be a dollar thing. It might just be deal thing versus a starter in a slump. Like, they may have not seen success yet, so they don't know what it looks like. So it might just be that starter slump is more just like roadblocks, I think.
That's the hardest roadblock you're going to
100%. Not necessarily slumps,
concept.
Just roadblocks. And those are very mentally
If you get in a
difficult.
slump before you've seen a deal and some sort of success, yeah, that gets tough.
I don't think it's a slump then. It's just like a roadblock to success.
Yeah, that's not a slump because you never had momentum.
100%.
So a slump's then having some momentum, having a business. Let's identify it then as having some momentum, having a business in place, maybe got a deal or 2 deals or 10 deals or 20 deals. And then you saw a slowdown for an extended period of time of 90 days or something.
Just slow down, dry spell. Yeah, 100%. That's what I think most people who are interested in this topic are going to be looking for. Like, okay, I've slowed down from X to this. What can they change? And I think that's what we need to answer.
And
for them.
I think people analyze that though, based off what just hit me is like, all of a sudden, if they get some acquisitions, they're not in a slump anymore. Like just purchase agreements, I'm saying. They don't need to even buy and sell it. If they start getting purchase agreements or good leads, they're immediately going to come out of that slump.
And that's when we used to do one-on-one coaching ourselves, that's what I always told them. Like, and it's hard mentally. Like, you could get a phone call right after I tried not to let those conversations turn to like vetting for like an hour. Like, this is what's going on, whatever it is, or venting. But I always said, like, you could get a phone call right after this where it's $150,000 profit deal, and then everything's shiny, sunshine and blue skies and everything like that. So you really got to look from the outside in at your business and not just look at deals, because deals is such a small part of the business. Obviously, it's how we make money. How much mail are you sending? Are you a slump because you're not sending as much mail? Are you a slump because you're not getting as many phone calls? Like, you got to figure out what's actually going on in your business.
I think so. And the question is, though, for someone in a slump who hasn't changed anything, and then the slump comes, and then they start overanalyzing.
Yep.
So you got to be careful looking internal too. It is internal. But implement, like, my biggest thing is for people in that, like, do they do what they're doing now, or do they change it? Do they stay consistent on what they're doing, or do they change it? That's the biggest question.
100%. And I think it's how big the drop off was. Are you adding more? Like, if you're in a slump, like, okay, let's try to figure out what I can do. Am I calling back people who called my answering service and complained to them or bitched to them? Or am I calling back hate calls? Like, find deals. Like, you got to work for deals in this business.
Text, cold call.
And I think when people have a drop off from like, okay, they got 1, 2, 3 easy deals, and then their slump is like, okay, deals aren't coming as easy, or I got to do a little more work or negotiate or propose double closing. Like, you need to find a way to make deals happen.
Yeah. And the bloodline of this business model is based off of leads and deals coming in. So you got to find a way to get leads and get deals coming. If it's a lack of leads, change your lead strategy or add to it. If that's the thing, like, if it's a lack of leads, change your lead strategy or get to it, and then try to convert those leads. But then you might have a different issue is closing. Can I take those leads and close them into a deal? So there's different processes through everything. But if you're not getting leads, implement a new strategy. Like, you got to reach out to landowners and get leads back. You got to find a way for leads.
Yeah. So I think the person who's listening to this, like, their inputs are the same and their outputs are different. So I think being able to help them as much as possible is like the value we can bring on this episode. And like Dan said, it matters the sample size for sure. Like, is it a month?
Don't analyze after 5,000.
No, but adding texting, like, texting is cheap. It is very, very cheap. Like, you should be at minimum, like, getting set up with 10 DLC, which is essentially a texting approval. Go through that kind of stuff. You don't have to, it's not going to take a ton of time. Like, some people just send 100 texts a day. It's not that crazy of a thing. Some people just send follow-up texts to people they already contacted, but you need to get in contact with, you need to get on the phone with vacant landowners. If that's via text, if that's via mail, you got to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. And that's the easiest way and the cheapest way to get more contact, because you already have the data, you have everything, it's priced out, you have the comps in the area, you've done area, research on the county, so you have the data. All you got to do is
the data.
Yeah, you got to skip trace the data. All you have to do is really send it, because you have everything. You already did the county selection, so it's not that much more work. The work comes, but the work comes with the leads, and following up and replying.
The setup is a little bit though. The setup of launch control or whatever software, launch control we love. The setup of launch control, the approval
it's
process.
A lot of work setting up your product. Yeah, we have videos on it too. It's in the course, and that's launch control is a lot of work setting it up and maintaining campaigns. I meant to say more money than everything, like in terms of, but it will get you leads, and then it's on you. Because if you have leads coming in, it's up to you to close them and gauge their interest and do everything you can to try to close that. If you're not texting people, that's the first thing I'd consider. Like, you got to be texting people, I think.
Yeah. And we probably, we need to talk about it more and like because there's a bigger barrier to entry for texting just with time and getting approval and all to do it legally. Like there's a bigger barrier to entry just from a work aspect. But once you get it set up, once you're rolling, like we have people sending 50,000 texts a month, and they are
With
just
the VA.
they're killing it because they made things happen. They got set up. They're doing all that, and that's what you have to do. Like to get out of a slump, like you gotta maybe just turn up the work a little more. Maybe send text, do this, do that. Just maybe turn off your answering service and answer calls yourself. Find a way. Getting out of a slump is getting that one deal for a lot of the people in this situation. How do you do that? And that one deal is going to feel so damn good once you work for that.
Yeah, and I think what you don't want to do is have the mindset, hey, I got to wait to send more until I get another deal.
No.
You're dead. That's done.
You'll quit.
You're gonna. That's not going to work. That is the opposite mindset. You got to be on the attack. That's like going out and hunting for an elk, saying, "Oh, it's just gonna come to me. I'm gonna stay right here," not tracking it or putting in the work and doing everything to go find it. You got to go find it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm watching Alone right now. They're not just sitting there and some rabbit comes in front of them and they shoot the rabbit, right? They're out looking and they're there for hours and hours, day after day, and then a rabbit or a grouse or something comes nearby. You got to look for your deals. You got to hunt. Like deals aren't going to come in your lap.
Yeah.
They just won't. Like, yeah, that just won't happen.
Once you like start working for deals, then you might have a deal or two that like falls in your lap. And like you start, like it's easy to just sit on your hands and wait for mail to work. But it's when it's not working as well as it should or as well as you think it should, like you got to make things happen. I think at times, like the business can be so easy when deals just come, and then some people get comfortable with that, and then then they end up with a slump because they're not doing everything they can to get as many deals as
or
they
they
can.
had expectations high because their first mailer had, 3 or 4 deals, and then
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, and then they don't have a deal for 4 mailers after that. And they're like, I got 3 deals off, 1,300 mailers, my first mailer, and then nothing happens. Like that happens as well.
Mm-hmm. If you're in that
That's
spot,
a good problem to have, though.
if you're in that spot, like you got to put the pedal down and like, okay, how do I make those 3 deals, 6 deals? It's just always like wanting more and like figuring out ways to get more out of.
And don't
this
analyze
business.
what you did on those 1,300 because chances are you just hit the right spot at the right time too.
100%.
Like there, and you're probably aggressive on the phones also, hopefully. But that's the number one advice for people who don't do well in terms of they have leads and they're not converting them is usually because of their sales game. So when in doubt, work on your sales and negotiation and making deals happen. Oh, they're not going to sell this at 45%. Maybe I can get it at 55% and find an investor for that. Okay, they're not going to even go to 55%. Maybe I can get it at 70% and double close it and at least make 30 grand or 20 grand or 100, whatever it is. You can buy a property for 100 and resell for 140. What's those margins?
Yep.
What are those margins?
I didn't hear the question.
If I buy a property for 100 and sell it for 140, what's that?
40%.
That's a 40% margin.
40,000 profit on 100,000 other purchase, yeah.
So that wouldn't work for deal funding because it's a profit split, 100 grand out, lower margins. But you do that when you're double closing, you're on the hunt. You make 40 grand. It's like that. You got to just look for opportunities like that. You have people calling you back that own land that are interested in some capacity. See what you can do to help them out. Maybe a subdivide play so you can buy it at 100% now because they're not coming down from 100. Maybe I can subdivide it into 7 lots.
Yeah.
All these different things come in.
Like one of the things that clicked with one of our newer salespeople is like he hunts for no's. And if you're not like in any sales, like if you're not getting no's, you're not getting enough yeses. And you hear so many people in this business, like, I don't think they'll do a double close. And I always wonder, like, when they say that to us, are they going to end up pitching it or are they just assuming a no? Like assuming a no and getting a no are 2 completely different things. You offered 100 grand or they're asking for 100 grand. You offered 40. You think it can make it work at $50,000, but you never offer that $50,000 because you assume a no versus actually make them say no to you. I have $50,000 ready to go. Make them say no.
Well, it tells you what they're going to say yes to also.
100%.
That gives you the answer.
But it doesn't even give you a chance. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you're not taking a shot, whatever that quote is with Michael Jordan, but if you're not taking a shot, like you have no chance of making the deal happen. And that's what I think people shy away from what they assume
that's not
a
even
seller's
a shot,
response.
though. If someone called you and they're interested in selling and you're trying to double close, like that's more than a shot. I think an offer in the mail is a shot.
Mm-hmm.
If they're calling you back and they're interested in selling and you can double, that's like
I'm saying people scaring away from sellers who are asking for too much money.
That's a mid-range shot, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just
Not a layup,
but I'm saying
mid-range.
they don't even try to get a no. Like they just assume a no
Yeah.
when they're trying to negotiate,
never
and
assume.
that's for D salespeople. That's what D salespeople
Yeah,
do.
that's being scared.
Yeah,
to talk.
100%.
Yeah.
If you're scared to have a tough conversation, get a
That's
no.
not even tough, really.
Be shut down.
People on the other side don't get uncomfortable. It's always the person talking that's uncomfortable. It's
do you
like when when I'm talking to salespeople, I'm not really uncomfortable that they're trying to sell me something as much as salespeople are uncomfortable on the other side. The other side's always like the person pitching it always feels the most uncomfortable, I think, than the other person. As long as you set up the right environment and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's never as bad as you. Like pitching something isn't, it shouldn't be a scary thing. I understand it is. I know it is from fact. I never like to call people to negotiate down and things like that. It's, but you do it anyways. And it's just like, a lot of times you're going to be happy that you're offering them another solution.
You got to have those conversations no matter what it is. Like you got to be able to willing to have tough conversations. I don't think that. I know that if you're not like you are losing deals. Even if you're not technically in a slump, you are losing deals if you're not having tough conversations. So I think that is like you got to analyze your business, but you don't want to overanalyze. I think that's the biggest thing for people who are maybe in a slump.
You also want to see where you're spending your time, though. Like, did we talk about that?
We haven't.
So, where are you currently spending your time in your business, and make sure you're spending it on the right places. You want to be spending it on sales. You want to be spending it on sending and marketing, getting your tech set up, text leads coming in, the operations behind that. You want, like I said, the business model is made from acquisition. So spend your time on acquisitions. Don't spend it on scrubbing your list. Outsource that for $5. Don't spend it on, what do people spend? Due diligence before a purchase agreement. There's 3 hours of your time. You could have selected 10 more counties and had been 6 months ahead. You know what I mean? Like spend it on the right times to keep your marketing machine going until you have a constant flow.
Some people get so like theoretical about the idea of a deal when a seller like not so little interest, but like they don't have any like confirmation that a seller's willing to do something. They start calling the county. They start I don't know, just so like you said, due diligence on stuff where you don't have a commitment from the seller.
Yeah.
Might be the biggest time waster I see out there.
100%. If it's a big deal, it's okay. Yeah. If they're interested, very interested, and it's a big deal and it's going to take some work and you got to look at things, I understand. But if it's just a buy and flip for 2040, like get the purchase agreement. Don't do all that. You're going to waste so much time. But if there's improvements and different things change a little bit. We just worked on that deal that with Christina, we bought it for $450,000. How long did that go on?
We're always under contract though.
Not always.
Not always.
No, we weren't.
Yeah.
No, we weren't. I don't think we were.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like we set a
months,
price, we could make it happen.
Several months we were not under contract.
Yeah.
Like several months. And then we got under contract, but the due diligence was done. But that's also a $500,000 deal.
Yeah, it's relative to the size of the deal, I think. But that is a place I see a lot of people like wasting time and like they know everything about a property. Then I'm like, hey, do you have a purchase agreement? They're like, no. I'm like, just okay. You got to get that purchase agreement. Like that's step one. Like we know what we think we can sell it for. If you have to negotiate down after a purchase agreement, that is not the worst thing in the world.
There's a clause on there. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can negotiate after a purchase agreement. A lot of times those work out.
It's not a bait and switch either because you want to buy it at that price. It's just if something comes back bad.
100%. Yeah.
Bait and switch. People always ask. Someone asked me that on YouTube a few weeks ago, and they said, "Why don't you just offer them high so they get the call and bring them down?" I was like, "That is extremely illegal and extremely unethical."
Yeah. It's just not.
That's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
And they'll come back to you.
Yeah. If you are doing that intentionally at scale, and I've heard that multiple times, and it is like an illegal. And
because we do the opposite thing. We underprice sometimes too by accident,
100%.
which hurts in the same way.
Yeah. We try to price effectively where the deal makes sense for us and the deal makes sense.
And 50% of our purchase. That's why if we got sued or something for bait and switch, we'd show the data and we'd be like, we buy over 50% of our properties from the offer price or higher. We buy 75% of them from offer price to higher.
Yeah. Yeah. We've never once sent out mail with that intent to have to negotiate down. The only time we negotiate down is if we price wrong, we just mess up. Or something's wrong with the land and the deal just doesn't make sense at the price. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think this was good. Do you have anything else to add or?
I don't. I think it was good. If you're on a slump, it's part of the business. It's part of being an entrepreneur is ups and downs for sure. And like try not to let the downs be too low. Try not to like let the highs get too high with you. I think is an important part of being an entrepreneur. It takes time though for sure. And if you get it so emotional about every little up and down, it becomes much more difficult.
Absolutely.
Other than that, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, Apple or Spotify. leave us a review, share it with a friend, put it on your Instagram story. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.